So before we begin, I would just like to shout out my patrons: Dudley Reiner, Crimson, Consular, 10, Nude Banner, Damakis Whitewood, Jonah Rodriguez, and Ariel Kersey. I'm very much grateful for your support, and if any of you want to support me on Patreon, you can always find the link in the description below. Hey guys, I'm Naya, and welcome back to the channel. So first of all, I would like to apologize for not posting as regularly as I usually do in the last week or so, but my husband got COVID, and we've been dealing with this since Monday, and I've been testing negative for like the longest time. Haven't taken a test in a couple days now, so I'm not sure, but I do feel horrible. I probably look horrible and I probably sound horrible, but I still wanted to record, and I wanted to bring you guys content. I love making videos, and I really wanted to do it even though I feel horrible, but we are going to power through it, and there might be a lot of coughing and stuff like that involved. And I just feel terrible. Like, I don't want to get into all of the specifics, but like it feels like my skin hurts, and like just having a t-shirt on just hurts my skin when it touches my skin. It's really weird, but yeah, like I said, we're gonna power through it. So for today's video, I decided to cover budget cards. I haven't talked about anything budget in like the longest time. I think ever since my July budget decks. But right now, there's a lot of stuff that has been seeing play for some time now, and it's actually budget and also very much useful against the top decks. So I wanted to bring 10 budget cards today for you, and what I also want to stress is that all of them are under $5. So I think Konami is definitely taking a step in the right direction with reprints of some staples and some very important tech cards like Lightning Storm and Droplet in the 2022 Megatins, but they are still around $20. So it's not as expensive as before, but this is still a price tag for like a playset or something, because you will need to pays around $60 or $70 for those cards for a playset, and it's still a lot, honestly. So I did want to only mention cards which are under $5, so in total you will not be paying a lot, even if you get a playset of every single card on the list. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one, the very obvious one, I think, is going to be Dark Ruler No More. This card has been expensive when it first got out for quite a long time, but then it did receive an accessible printing, and right now it's not expensive at all, and it's very, very useful. Decks that put up huge boards right now are seeing a lot of play, and if you go up against something like Sprite, also something like Tear Element, even other decks, you will need to basically cover the entire board. And right now, I think those trading 1-for-1 things aren't that strong just because they have such a strong board presence. So Dark Ruler, incredibly useful. You will quite easily go through a Sprite board. I think you need to keep in mind that some of them do play hand traps, so you might need to play around some of them, or even like trade with them if you have enough power with your opening hand, and you do need to keep in mind that they play Smashers. So Smashers, being a quick play spell card, is still going to be live, but Dark Ruler is something that is going to carry you, in my opinion. So this is the first one. Following up with the second one, we have Cosmic Cyclone. Now, with Tactical Masters, we did receive a reprint of Cosmic Cyclone, as well as another card we are going to be mentioning in this list. Cosmic Cyclone, I think, is incredible right now because people started to play the Mystic Mine Beat Cop combination, where you protect the Mystic Mine, but if you banish the Mystic Mine with Cosmic Cyclone, then it's all good. You don't need to worry about it being protected from destruction because Cosmic Cyclone banishes. And not only the Mystic Mine protection, overall you can just banish a Mystic Mine if you play Cosmic Cyclone, even in your main deck as like a Mystic Mine out, because because right now I think we need to start playing Mystic Mine out, even if we're not playing something like a Tear Element deck, which can effectively run this and actually CD out with milling something like Galaxy Cyclone. I think we need to play outs. So even if you're not playing a strategy in which you are going to consistently see this out, I think it's still important to play something like a copy or 2 copies or however many you want in your deck of Cosmic Cyclone, because Mystic Mine is very much present in almost every single deck right now, and it's actually, spoiler, it's also on this list because it is budget. But yeah, Cosmic Cyclone I think is amazing. to counter Mystic Mine Beat Cop, or to just banish a Mystic Mine. And also, I talked about Smashers in the Sprite strategy. There's Sulik, or some people even play Meta Noise. However many things they might have in the back row, something might hinder your plays. So if you have that Cosmic Cyclone, I think it's very, very useful. And there's other strategies as well. Like if you're able to banish Scythe, if they set it with Dagda, that's also really, really nice. So I think Cosmic Cyclone, definitely a cool card to have, and also very cheap, of course. So the next one we already mentioned, Mystic Mine and Beat Cop. Both of them are cheap. Mystic Mine did get a Maximum Gold Eldorado reprint, so it is cheap. Beat Cop has always been a super rare, and it was cheap. Now I do realize there is a lot of hate revolving around Mystic Mine, and it has been for some time, and it probably is going to get banned at some point, but like, even if you invest in Mystic Mine, you're not going to spend a lot of money. And if you do have a strategy that can benefit with using Mystic Mine, I still, even though it's a very hated card, I do realize that it's a strong card going second, because it does give some more power to certain decks, on top of you being able to counter some of the best boards by forcing them to negate, or forcing them to basically just get the out when it comes to the tier limit matchup. So, you know, I do realize that people don't really like it, and I do realize why that is, but it's still an option for you as just purely a going second card, or a card that is going to boost your strategy, and it is cheap. So there's that. For the next one, we have Dimensional Barrier. This one also is very, very cheap. It did get like a couple common reprints, if I'm not mistaken, and it's amazing. Like, you being able to turn off fusion in this current point in time in this format is just strong. And before that, in the Despia format, you would just call fusion against Swords, so you would call synchro. Like, for the most part, like in the last couple of months, we have been getting decks that are very much focused on a specific type of summoning, so the barrier has been a staple for the longest time now, and I think it's very, very nice. So being very cheap as well, I think it's smart to get your playset and have it ready for this format, or any format to come, which is going to be very much focused on only one type of summoning in the best decks. Now the next one is actually going to be Pancratops. Now Pancratops got an incredible amount of reprints, and just it's very, very cheap. It's probably not more expensive than like 2 cents, and you can get like higher rarity printings, which are very, very cool looking. I have a secret rare one, and I just love using it because it looks really pretty. But you can get a common, it's only at 1, so like just get a Pancratops, because I do think it's amazing. Like, Pancratops is so strong right now because it is almost always going to be able to trade with 2 things. And before I mentioned that trading with only 1 is probably not that strong, and Pancratops does go down in sort of the value it provides if your opponent, being a Sprite player, puts up Dupe Frog, because it is going to force it to attack, and it's kind of just weird. But if they don't summon Dupe Frog, which they might not because they're playing around Super Poly, then immediately Pancratops becomes more valuable. And because it's very, very cheap also, like, why not just have it? Why not just pick it up? Not only against Sprite, it's also useful against other matchups. And like I said, it's almost always going to be able to trade with 2 things, which is very, very valuable in my opinion. The next one is going to be Unending Nightmares. So we saw this in the Oceanics Championship, the first place. It's a very useful out to Mystic Mine. It's cheap, and like the fact that it's continuous and you're just all the time being able to pop stuff, I think that's really underrated. And yeah, I think it's a really, really cool tech. Now for the next one, we have Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This one has been seeing a lot of play in the tier limit deck because you're able to send it and take it back. But even if you're not playing that deck in particular, if you do have a deck in which you can quite easily put up a monster that's 2500 attack or higher and dark, I think it's amazing, because you being able to turn off spell cards or trap cards respectively, first of all, it's incredibly strong against a matchup that's very reliant on that. And the number one thing that I think Eradicator is really good against is basically the board breakers, because for the most part, those board breakers are going to be spell cards. So if you're able to shotgun it, not only you're probably taking like at least 1 or 2 spells away from the strategy you're facing, because we do know that spell cards are very important right now. Like, the best strategies are always going to be relying on spell cards. And not only that, like I mentioned, you know, Dark Ruler, Lightning Storm, just stuff like that, I think, is not only very, very strong, but also a lot of people play it. So I think Eradicator is very, very useful. And since we're on the topic of virus cards, the next one is going to be Deck Devastation Virus. Now, this one is probably like the most expensive one out of all of these on this list, but it's still under $5. So you can invest in this because it's nice against Sprite and it's nice against MathMech as well. So you do need to have the correct monster to be able to tribute and get the effect, but I don't think that's that hard to establish, and the card is very, very strong, I think, so you can invest in that if you want. Now, the next one is going to be Enemy Controller. So we did see this also at the European Championship. People played Enemy Controller, and I think it's a very, very useful card. It's, first of all, it's cheap, which we love. It's a quick play spell, which is also really nice. And overall, just I think Enemy Controller has a lot of value, a lot of potential. You're able to take an opponent's monster. Against Sprite, it's huge because they won't have a level 2 on field or a rank link, you know what I mean? Like, they won't have the monster on field to special summon the other ones. And overall, just that kind of disruption, it being a quick play spell card, I think is huge. And for the last card, I also mentioned that there is a Tactical Masters reprint, and I was talking about Anti-Spell Fragrance. Now, Anti-Spell is very much, there's a lot of arguments that I gave about Eradicator that I want to point out when it comes to Anti-Spell as well. Not only do you turn off a lot of spell cards in the opposing strategy, you are also turning off the board breakers, which are not quick play spell cards. There is Droplet, but Droplet I don't think is seeing a lot of play because the top decks can't really afford to get rid of a lot of cards in their hand, I think. And even if they do, they will still need to deal with the anti-spell, and if they drew any other spells, it's going to be kind of weird. So there is that. And the other ones like Lightning Storm, Dark Ruler, that have been seeing a lot of play. Also Harpies, like some of the tournament decks only play like Reboot, Harpies, like Anti-Spell just turns it off completely when it comes to Harpies, and the other not quick play spell cards. So I think it's a very, very strong card, getting even cheaper. And it's always cool to have more cards in Fluctuation that are just very useful and you can pick up. So I think this was a very cool Tactical Masters reprint. Although we need to touch upon the fact that Anti-Spell overall is just incredibly oppressive, and some people are even advocating for it to be hit on the ban list. So there's that as well, but it's that cheap that it's no problem if you get it. But yeah, this is going to be the last card. Please let me know if there's anything I have missed. I'm sure there's a lot more budget options, and I did only want to cover tech cards today. I might do a hand trap one separately because some hand traps are getting more and more accessible with the 2022 Megaton reprints, so there's that as well. But please let me know if there's any tech cards that I maybe missed. And yeah, of course, if you liked the video, like it, sub to the channel, check out all the social media, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!